Hello, we're very pleased to be here in Munich at the ESC Congress, and it's my great pleasure as Chief Executive Officer of the ESC to welcome Michel Bertrand, who is past President of the ESC, founding father of the Heart House, and who will be speaking with me today about the 60 years of ESC Congress. Michel, when was your first ESC Congress?
Thank you for your question, Isabel. It's true that I'm an old comer, you see, in the ESC Congress, if I may say that, since I attended for the first time the European Society of Cardiology meeting in 1976. It was in Amsterdam, afterward in Paris, then in Düsseldorf, and in 1988, as you know, we switched to from a quadriannual meeting to a yearly meeting.
And how many people were there in 1976?
I can give you the figures concerning the meeting in Paris in 1980, because I well remember that it was 6,800 participants.
And last year in Paris, we were just over 33,000 participants. So I think that one of the major evolutions of the ESC Congress has definitely been the size of the participation. Would you agree with that?
Clearly. The size is very impressive. You see the number of participants with two peaks. One at the time of the joint meeting with the World Congress in Berlin in 1994 and in Paris last year.
I think that's a very interesting point. When I look at the ESC Congresses, there appears to be cycles of 6 to 7 years where the size grows and then a different sort of Congress appears. And the 94 Congress in Berlin was the beginning of a cycle. I think that the Munich 2012 is also the beginning of a cycle of a more high-tech, innovative Congress, and I'd like to see how you feel about the diversity of the content that is distributed here.
Well, you are right. It is a multifactorial problem. I think that we have also to take into account the venue, depending on the site where the Congress is organized. You see, it's clear that, for example, Paris was very attractive. And in 94 as well, you see Berlin, after the fall of the wall, was also very attractive to have a big Congress in this area. But you are right, it is also depending on the quality of the Congress and especially of the diversity of the content, and because nowadays we have much more topics which have been addressed, larger than focusing only on the traditional topics of cardiology. This is clear. Over this meeting you can think a lot of things about acute care, about geographical distribution, a lot of things which clearly is a demonstration of it's no longer a very focused cardiology meeting, but it had extended to several parts of medicine in general.
Yes, I'd like to pick up on that because this year in particular, as you know, we've organized workshops on cardiac anatomy, also on resuscitation workshops. So my vision or my impression of the last 6 Congresses in particular has been that every year we've added on new workshops, new tutorials, new topics, which are very often in collaboration with other societies. And I think this is also an interesting evolution.
Absolutely. The best example is, for the collaboration with Diabetic Society, with hypertension, etc. So clearly is not focusing only on the traditional point of cardiology, but you are right, extending our area of expertise and knowledge.
I'd be interested to hear how you feel that the organization of the Congress has also evolved, because from being a very centered on general cardiology to a multidisciplinary cardiovascular disease Congress, how does that actually impact you as a delegate and a past president?
I think that really you can find everything which is touching to cardiology and internal medicine in general. We have not to consider only the heart. but the heart in the general, in the body, etc. Besides this point, you see, I would like also to make a point concerning the problem of organization. I have seen the beginning, the very beginning of the story, 76, 80, etc. I would like to remind you, for example, that in 76, Paul Huguenot, who was in charge of the Amsterdam Congress, made the program himself, driving from point to point across Europe, convincing people to work and to participate in the Congress. It was almost the same in 1980, and where we are looking, where we are coming from, we are very impressed by the professionalism of your organization, of your staff, of your collaborators, and thanks to you and your colleagues.
Well, thank you for that, but I think we cannot forget that all this is thanks to incredibly dedicated volunteers who spend an awful lot of time, effort and contribution for the Congress. When I look here, we have over 2,000 volunteers who are participating in one way or another of the program and the activities at the Congress, which is an extremely impressive contribution. So I think that I'm delighted to hear how happy you are with the organization, but it can only be possible if you have that dedication of the volunteers.
You are completely right. You need a core.
Yeah.
And you see the core is your staff in the European Art House, which, by the way, we celebrate next year. You see, its 20th anniversary. And I think that the staff in the European Art House accumulates a lot of expertise and commitment, and I think this is very important. And as soon as you put around this core, you see the expertise and the willingness and the commitment of volunteers, I think that it is a good cooking.
Absolutely, and I'd just like to ask you how you feel as well, because in 76 it was purely a European Congress with people from Europe, as we call the European Commission countries. Today there are over 140 countries participating, and in the 30,000 population who are here, there are 1/3 of those people come from non-ESC countries, South America, Asia Pacific, India, China, and that is also an extremely important evolution.
Absolutely, because that means that the reputation of the ESC Congress is out of the borders of traditional European Union. It has become a World Congress of Cardiology, but driven by the ESC.
Absolutely, because all the feedback we get is that people are very excited by the European way of doing things.
Yeah, certainly.
Okay, so I'd like to thank you very much for taking the time and talking over what is, I think, something which is close to your heart and to my heart, which is the ESC Congress.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.